All right, what is going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Thank you to everyone out there, as always, for watching, for listening, following, subscribing. I appreciate you guys very much. Big shout out to our sponsor, Sunny Reds 1841 Abbott Road, just down the way from Highmark Stadium. This is our Monday podcast. As always, we are live on the video side Sunday night, and I'm joined by a tired, cranky, already rushing me along. Wish I could have taped our 5 minute pre-production meeting.
Pre-production.
Pre-production. Joe from Queens, man. What's up, dude? How you doing?
I'm all right, man. Just happy Mother's Day to everyone out there. Yeah, I'm just a little bit beat. Our kid got up at like 3:30 this morning, and he didn't go back to sleep. So it's been kind of a rough day, and not rough. Like we had fun. Like we went and did Mother's Day stuff, and but I'm beat. So let's talk. Get through your rundown. Tell us about your week and how you did nothing or you got drunk. Get all that rigmarole out of the way so we can hurry up and talk about the Bills schedule or whatever we're talking about today.
Well, that is what we'll do today on the show. We're the NFL schedule does drop Wednesday, so we'll spend some time making some predictions. Those are always fun. You only do it once, though. After that, it's not fun anymore. So we'll do that with the schedule actually coming out on Wednesday. I'm sure some actual legit leaks will start to trickle out maybe by the time some people are actually listening to this. So we'll do that. I got a tweet that I shared with you before the show. I'm going to share with everybody who's listening regarding the Bills and kind of it is a fact with Josh Allen that I thought was a little bit disturbing. You got some thoughts on that Bills Embedded episode that just came out a few days ago as it pertains to the Jeremy White stuff, which they're keeping it going now. It's the Bills who are doing it. We'll head on that. Rookie mini camp was last Friday. I don't know if you got any thoughts on that. I'm pretty sure you don't. We'll do our true or false segment that we've been doing on the show, and I got a Mount Flushmore in honor of Mother's Day. I got a Mount Flushmore of the worst TV mothers, so that's kind of what we'll hit on. No beer for Joe on Mother's Day?
I'm drinking wine that we got at the winery that we went to. That's in this dad thing, so I'm just drinking that off, and yeah, it's good. It's like a white something. I forgot. But yeah, it's good. It's solid. So
that's cool.
Yeah. Do you like wine? You don't like wine, do you?
Oh, no, I don't like wine, but holy shit, this weekend. So let me just get into this quick little 2-minute spiel.
Oh, God. 2-minute spiel? Jesus.
I know it's going to annoy you, but listen, in all seriousness, man, this past week was one of the more memorable and fun and happy weeks that I've had in a very long time. And just a lot of shit and good stuff, all good stuff going on with me this week. Tuesday was my birthday, which, that's cool. I'm just grateful now to still be here. And I don't take that shit for granted no more. But on that day was my daughter's pinning ceremony. My daughter graduated from Duville University School of Nursing, and I got to be there for her pinning ceremony, which was really, really cool, man. And I should have put maybe I'll put a clip up or something of it, but I got a screenshot. Really cool. So when they go up, the graduates, they have their name and they write 3 or 4 sentences, thanking their family and their friends and all this yada, 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 which is, whatever. But her very last line was happy birthday, Dad. And then we did it. And that just got me all in my feels, man. A little bit, very emotional. So what a great way to celebrate my birthday. Then my guy was in from Texas and we got a chalet, like 14 of us in Ellicottville over the course. You ever been to Ellicottville, by the way? I know I've never asked you this before.
I have not, but I've wanted to go up there a few different times because I definitely like Ellicottville breweries. I definitely like their beer. I actually have some of it in my fridge. Yeah. But yeah, I've heard nice things about that place up there.
It's a really cool small town, man. It's a great scenery, great vibes. They got a handful of breweries and bars, little shops. It reminds me of like East Aurora, but with more country scenic views. Right. And a lot more snow and skiing and golf courses and all that stuff. But anyway, so we stayed in the chalet, all of us, for 3 days, had our fun, got a little bit burned out. But leading to your point about the wine, at the very end of day 3, we were kind of bar crawling a little bit, and my very intoxicated friend, our car just happened to be parked in front of this Ellicottville winery, and dude, money is no object to this dude. Just trust me. So we go. He talks us into going in there. Me, my wife, my cousin, and him for some wine tasting, and it became shots of wine because he went down the whole right side and was just doing shots. But and I'm not a wine drinker, but I tried like 6 or 7 different types of wine. But no, wine's not for me. Maybe it's for you. It's for you, all you Italian people out there, not for
us Italians, yeah.
Not for us Irish folks, man. But anyway, it was just a really good weekend. What did Steve say here in the live chat? Curious how many beers you drank this weekend, brother. A lot. More than normal. Over the course of 3 days, like I said, friends, a guy in from Texas, my birthday week, his birthday week, my daughter graduating. It was definitely a party, and it was a lot of fun. Anyway,
cool.
So that was a good weekend. And by the way, I got a little birthday gift here. Usually I drink pop or once in a while a beer on this show, but I'm actually drinking kids. See, but I got a cool Ninja XL coffee maker. What kind of coffee maker you got at your crib, man? Like, do you have just a regular pot or your coffee?
No, I forgot what we have. Like, I forgot.
Keurig or
Mel, what's our coffee thing called? The coffee maker we have. What's it called? Percolator.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah, we have one of those. Yeah. So
well, we had a Keurig and they're okay, but like this Ninja just makes like coffee, like, and it just tastes more like coffee, man. It's actually been really cool. I've been into it. But yeah, anyway, it was a really good week. Let's get, and Pat, you were on a bender from Mark. Yeah, I was.
Pat's on a bender all the time. All the time.
No. It's usually one day a week, and it's only half of those Saturdays where I actually will drink. Most times it's just a handful of beers, but this was a fun one. John Sanders says, love Ellicottville. Hit the fall festival there every year. Yeah, that place lights up like October Fest. That's the place to be for a weekend. But I'll tell you, man, when it's not going on there and it's just you're enjoying the town, it's just really, really cool. All right, let's get into this bill schedule stuff here. I'm going to put it up on the screen for people who may not know who they're playing. Actually, that's the tweet, which I'm going to get to in a few minutes. But we know their opponents, obviously, the home, the away. There's one more home game on the schedule. There's 9 home games, 8 on the road. I don't know what you've heard, Joe. I've been following a little bit on Twitter. None of these are confirmed, but there have been some leaks, not involving really the Buffalo Bills, but I've read that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to play against the Chargers in Brazil for week 1, which is Friday night. We know there's going to be a Friday night game in week 1 in Brazil, and rumor has it that it's going to be the Chiefs technically on the road, which a lot of people are bitching about because it's an AFC road divisional game, but they're going to get to play that in Brazil. There's been a rumor that Miami is going to play Washington in Spain in week 7. There's 3 games in London. We know that 5, 6, and 7. Again, these are all just rumors. None of these are confirmed, but Minnesota against Cleveland, Denver and the Jets, Rams and the Jags. Ireland has a buzz that it's going to be Minnesota against Pittsburgh. I know the Bills have been linked to some to Ireland. So there's a lot going on in terms of that, but predictions. I'll go through a list with you and you let me know. And people, if you want to follow along in the chat, if you're watching live on the video side, if you want to chime in, we'll kind of go about it this way. We're not going to lay out weeks 1 through 17. That's just ridiculous, but we'll start here. Do the Bills have any international games? And these are our predictions right now as we record this late Sunday night.
I'm going to say no. The reason why I did as much research as possible, which was I read your email 20 minutes ago. No, but I look at it this way. Like, it took them, 7 years to get back to playing, like, international game? Like, their first international game was the London game against the Jags. That was 2015. It was Rex's first year. Then they did it again in 2022, 2 years ago. So it took them 7 years, like, to do an international game. And then, like, obviously I get it. Like, they stunk for much of, like, that duration for those 6-7 years or whatever. But I just feel like I can't see them doing it now. It's too close to what it was, previously in terms of the last time they played. So I'm going to say no. And yeah, that's my opinion. I think it's just too soon from the next one. And maybe there are teams have played back to back. Obviously, we know the Jags. They're big there. Like they have like their presence there, and they're always playing there. But I just I don't see them doing it.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm gonna say no as well. Chronic on our live chat says he's not a fan of international games. I'm not either. I really don't know, who is, who really wants to see their team.
I mean, I think if you have money and you want to go on vacation, like think about, you're a dumb Irishman. Think of going to Ireland to watch the Bills versus Steelers. Like that would be pretty rad.
Sure.
Like that would be cool. And I knew a couple of friends of mine did the London thing and they loved it. Obviously the game sucked, but that would be a fun trip to do.
Yeah, Johns has a good point too. I get more pissed off about the 9:30 a.m. Time slot. Yeah, it does suck having a game that early. I lean no in part, and I think mainly because I don't know why I have a lot of belief in the leaks right now. But if you believe them, there's not really any opening. The only one that seems the least solid is the Ireland one with Minnesota at Pittsburgh. We know Pittsburgh's definitely playing in that game for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that would be the one. I don't think they would play in London. Don't think they're starting the week or the season off in Brazil. I think that one was pretty much locked in. But I will say what makes me not completely certain is the fact that they got 9 home games and 8 road games. So do they have 9 games in Orchard Park this year? Does it matter with season tickets? So people are buying tickets. We'll find out. We'll start to find out real soon. Have you heard? Well, this will kind of lead into the next one. All right, so we both say no to international games, although I really would not be surprised if they end up in Ireland. How many primetime games do you think they're going to play?
By the way, real quick before you go, I'm looking at the chat. Andy has a really good point. The Bills are 1-7, if you want to put that on the screen, all time outside of the United States, he believes, which I can't even remember the last time they won
we're including the Toronto games, right?
Yeah. If you're including the Toronto games, yeah. So that would be the one they beat. They beat Washington in Toronto years ago. So, yeah.
So that's a good point.
Yeah, good point.
How many primetime games do you think they're going to play? And I will say one thing. I believe I read that Josh Allen's going to be on the Today Show on Monday, and that they're going to start to leak some national games. So some primetime game involving the Bills will be announced on Monday. Probably on Monday when you listen to this, but we already know the Bills are going to be playing multiple primetime games. The question is, how many do you predict? How many primetime games are the Bills going to play this year?
I'm going to say 5 is what they're going to play. I think the 6 is the max. I'm going to go with 5, and I will say this. I think the Chiefs Bills is going to be a primetime game. They haven't played a primetime game since regular season. Right. They haven't done one since 2021. It's been a while. And I feel like if you're telling me, and that the tweet was Sal had tweeted to Patrick Hammer, the weather guy, that's when they spoiled it. And I'm like, well, why is he going to be on there? He's going to be on it because he's probably going to announce like, hey, we're the Sunday night game. Yeah. And I think Chiefs Bills are due for a primetime game. They haven't done one in since 2021. It's been a while. Yeah. And I think they're due. They've given it to the CBS people every year. I think they're due. So I think I could see that being the opener. That's my hot take. The Sunday night opener, Bills Chiefs. That's my hot take. I think that's going to be it.
I want to get back to when I said that they have 9 home games at Orchard Park scheduled. John Sanders said, "Don't worry, one of the games will be moved to Detroit after a 10-foot blizzard in Orchard Park." It's kind of funny, and actually, it's not completely unrealistic. I'm with you on 5. I predict 5 as well. I said 5. I don't agree with you about the Kansas City game though, because straight up, it's the game of the year, and CBS gets to protect like 2 or 3 games per year, and that's why they're not playing in prime time, because I don't think CBS is going to let that game go.
I thought it was a weekly. I know they protect games. I thought it was like weekly they would protect them, but I get that, like the protecting thing. But man, like it's they can protect it every year. They're just like,
I think that again. I think they can protect like 2. I think it's 2 to 3 games on their schedule per year that they get to protect.
I should have listened to Sal's podcast with Andy North, I guess. But yeah, I don't to know that officially. I know they protect some. I know that they protect stuff that doesn't get moved. Like you can't flex every game out. Like they protect. That's the only thing I know about protection. they protect the games when you start flexing. So if you want to flex Bills Chiefs week 13, 14, you can't do that because CBS is like, F that, we're taking that. But
sure.
That's what I'm. That's my hot take. I'm predicting Bills Chiefs primetime. It's been too long. I think it's going to be a primetime game.
Couple good comments in the chat, by the way. I'll circle back to a little bit later in the show. So anyway, we both agree with 5. I'm going to come back to my season opener prediction because it's kind of tied to that. But I got 5 primetime games as well. I think 3 are going to be at home, which kind of leads to my next question here. How many Sunday 1 p.m. games do the Bills play this year? Unfortunately, it's not going to be 17 like I wish it would be. But how many times do you think they're going to play Sunday at 1 p.m.? And kind of a side question as you answer that as well. Are you a big proponent? Are you a big fan of Sunday at 1 p.m.? Like, if you had your way, would almost all the games be Sunday at 1 p.m.?
I like primetime games, and I like the 4 o'clock. But, like, so with a kid, it kind of... I prefer night games. It's weird. So night games would be best because he goes down. So we don't have to worry about him, like, because we don't do screen time or any of that. I mean, we might do a little bit this because he's going to be 2 by the time the Bill season starts. But, for the most part, I think I prefer the night games because we can put him down. When he's around, it's a little bit tougher, but we're going to, I'm going to try to get him into the Bills to watch them a little bit. But if it wasn't, let's just say the kid was out of the, like, not, it's just me. I would say I like 4. That's a tough one, man. Like, I don't really care, to be honest. Like, my whole thing, you know what it is? Like,
they had 7 last year, 7 1 p.m. That's all they had last year was 7 1 p.m. Sunday games.
Yeah, I feel like for me, like, being in New York, I never cared if it was 1, 4, or 8 o'clock. I just wanted to watch the Bills game from my couch. Because obviously I'm not like you who, could turn on CBS. I can't. I don't have the ticket or whatever. So I always look at, okay, what primetime games can I watch? Because primetime games are throughout the country. What's the 4 o'clock game or in that sort of stuff. So I prefer that. My whole thing that I always worry about is just, am I going to be able to watch it from my couch in Queens? And so for the most part, I like night games because I know I'm guaranteed to watch a night game, from my couch. So, but I'm going to say you said 7 was 1 p.m. last year. I'm going to go with 6 because I do think there's a possibility. I know I said 5 primetime games. They could get 6 because they were better this year or last year. And there are teams that were primetime. Everyone loved them on primetime, like the Jets. I can't see the Jets getting many primetime games like they did last year with Aaron Rodgers because that's dead. And like that's so like I think like you might want that East Coast, even though Buffalo's a smaller market. You might want that East Coast team a little bit because I don't think the Jets are going to play as many as they did the last couple of years.
Well, I'll say this: the Bills have been a good draw in recent years as it was, and the fact that now Josh Allen won MVP and Josh Allen has become one of the more most recognizable faces of the NFL as well. If he wasn't already, he certainly is now. That would probably push to whatever the max is for the primetime games. I would say that. Let me take a look here in real time. I'm going to pull back up their road opponents because you got to look at 4 p.m. games as, if they're not primetime, like Atlanta could be although they play a lot of 1 o'clock games. But if you look at their road opponents, Miami, New England, and the Jets, of course. But then you got Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Houston, Atlanta, Carolina. Those are a lot of, it's either going to be a prime time or a 1 p.m. game. When I look at those, I mean, their home games are just loaded with teams that you look at and you're like, oh, this could easily be a primetime game. You said how many? 6?
I said 5.
5?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with a little bit of an upset here. I think the Bills are going to play, even though I think they're going to be in primetime at least 5 times. I think they're going to play 8 games Sunday at 1 p.m. because I think a lot of those road games aren't really primetime worthy. Their schedule is a lot.
I think 4 o'clock they're going to go for probably maybe like do a later schedule. Maybe.
It could.
Like Central. Yeah, like they don't play as of like it says now. They don't have any West Coast games. So
I mean, we're talking about their schedule predictions, and we're not talking about how good they're going to be. But when you look at this schedule, that home schedule is far, far, far more daunting than the road schedule. I mean, Non-division, you got Baltimore, Cincy, Kansas City, Philly. You can even throw Tampa in there as well. I mean, they made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Those are some tough ass games. The road games, not really as much, man. I mean, Houston, they won their division the last couple of years. Pittsburgh, it's just I don't think there's going to be a lot of juicy games. But then again, the Bills will be in prime time enough times that they're going to be in the road. I guarantee you, at least one of those is going to be a divisional game, like Miami, like it was last year. Maybe New England early in the season.
Always keep in mind markets, like, because obviously Buffalo is a small market, and I think a network would rather, like, yeah, hey, it would be great to get like the Bills versus Chiefs, but if you have to have like the Bills versus a mediocre team, I know Jacksonville's not on the schedule, but they would probably prefer like Cleveland over Jacksonville because Cleveland is a bigger market. So I can see like a Atlanta getting a prime, like a Monday night game or maybe a Thursday night game with Atlanta, because Atlanta is a big market. They do have a young quarterback. Younger quarterbacks tend to be sexier to look at in terms of like, oh, what's whatever the quarterback is. I forgot his name. Michael
Penix.
Thank you. But yeah, I can see that being. But there's a lot of possibilities there. But it's a tough. It's definitely like some sexy markets, big markets they're going against too. And I think and I do predict they are going to have. They'll definitely have. Let me ask you this: do you think they're going to have a division game that's prime time? I feel like they always kind of have one.
100%.
You think so? Who do you think it's going to be?
Either New England or Miami, and I would say is probably going to be early in the season too, because I don't think New England or Miami are locks to be good, and you really don't. If you're projecting that a team may not be good, you're not probably playing them in prime time in week 12 or 13. Although some of those games later in the season could get flexed out, of course, too, as well. Cryonic brought up a good point, too, because I said, the home schedule just is on paper much more daunting than the road. But he said, and it's a good point. I'd rather have the tough games at home.
Also, there's someone had said once, I don't know who, it hasn't been brought up, at least I haven't seen it, but I remember part of the reason why the Bills don't have that many primetime games at home in comparison to the road is because of like a technical element of it. Like they need a power, like a HD something. I forgot. Someone said this a long time ago that they didn't have like the best wiring like under the stadium to make it prime time. So just throwing it out there. I wish I could look it up, kids, but like you can Google it, or someone said that once. I think like it was mentioned a while ago because people were like, why aren't they? I felt like they were always playing a road primetime game and not a home primetime game, which was weird. Even when they were shitty, but anyway, just
I said that while I would prefer 1:00 games, it's I will say this, I especially prefer that at home. Primetime games, I'm more open to them especially when I'm on the road. I kind of like the home game 1 p.m. vibe of the whole town. But anyway, all right.
Real talk, and then we'll go. How much does it have to do with doing a podcast after the game, though?
There's a lot to do with it.
Okay, so like you're biased a little bit. Like you don't even.
I like to go. I could. Now I'm not going to go to a game. That's not happening.
We know you're too good for it.
I could go to a tailgate. Like I live 10 minutes from the stadium. I'm down to go attend the tailgate, come home, watch the game, do something afterwards. Although you and I during the season, dude, I don't even remember. Do we go on live or do we right after the games or do we wait till 9:00? I don't even remember anymore.
We waited till 9:00. But when we had a night game, like it was like midnight. Like we came on like 10-15 because you had to steal people's takes and then you came on. So we had to wait 20 minutes.
Everyone else's thoughts so I could make them known.
Exactly. Smart. You were like, what's Podfather Marino saying tonight? Yeah. So
by the way, somebody in the YouTube comments last week actually said that because you called Joe Marino Podfather Marino. I thought that was
Podfather Marino. You know what? I'll say this. I don't give shout out to content pros ever, but he does a good podcast with Jerry Ostrowski, Jeremy White, and himself. Yeah. The roundtable is pretty good. I actually enjoy that. So I would definitely recommend that. And
it's Mondays and Thursdays at noon live. With, Jeremy White.
It's good. Like I like roundtables. I mean, it's good to eat at. But no, dad jokes for you kids. But like I like when you have a couple more people than just the two. Because I enjoy that. But anyways,
Mark says nothing is better than a live talking Buffalo episode after
we throw down, we throw down, we throw down.
All right, so let's continue on before we get to a break here with the Bills schedule stuff. All right, so we're kind of on the same page, sort of anyway, with the 1 p.m. games. Next one, will they play on a holiday? And there's only two candidates. It's obviously it's Thanksgiving, which would only be a primetime game because Detroit and Dallas always play, those two slots.
Right.
And Bills don't play either of them. So it would either be primetime Thanksgiving or Christmas, which they are doing a triple hitter. So it's certainly possible that the Bills would play on Christmas or primetime Thanksgiving. So ultimately, that's the prediction that I'm asking you for here. Will the Bills play on either Thanksgiving or Christmas or Black Friday? Somebody brought up, John, I think there's a Black Friday game this year as well. I'm not 100%, but even if there's not, you still got Christmas and you still got Thanksgiving.
I'm waiting for the day, and I'll give you my answer, when they decide to do football week in America, where every day they have a football game. Like, they just do it like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We're going to have football games every day because all these fucking games, they just have so many of them. But, hey, they got to make money. I do believe they're going to have a day. I think it's going to be Christmas. And everyone in the chat has kind of talked about the Hallmark movie, like the Chiefs played on Christmas last year.
Oh,
when your favorite movie of all time, the Kelseys and Taylor Swift aired, it makes sense, I guess. So I can definitely see that as they haven't played on a holiday. Excuse me. They haven't played on Christmas Day or Thanksgiving since the Saints game where Trey White blew his.
No, I think the next year didn't they play Detroit on Thanksgiving?
You're right, they did. My bad. Yeah, you're right. They did play 2 years in a row. So I could definitely. I don't think a Thanksgiving primetime is going to happen because they played it a couple years ago. I think Christmas Day is going to be. Yes, as Tooch says in the comments, bring that up. Our boy Tooch, Christmas Day game, then watch that shitty Hallmark movie. Yes, that's what's going to happen. I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see Del Reed's going to be on there somehow. He's going to have a cameo. I'm calling it. And Pat's going to have a talking buffalo hoodie like on camera somewhere.
Probably. Yeah. I should have probably did my homework a little bit better because I know Christmas is going to be 3 games on Christmas.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're all on Netflix or if just one of them is on Netflix, because if they're not,
last year it was 2. It was 2. Yeah, it was 2 last year on Netflix, right? They were both on there.
Right, but if there's 3, folks, somebody wants to look this up on the internet. I really don't have.
Yeah, we're a crack research staff here. Our interns.
My thought is this: if CBS has got one of those Christmas games, man, it would be fitting for Kansas City to go to Buffalo and play on CBS. Christmas Day, the mid-afternoon, the 4:30 game.
Well, John,
earlier, they're not giving up that game, CBS, and I'm 99.5% sure that CBS has the right to protect that game. But if they're all on Netflix, then I think you could scratch that off. At least Bills Chiefs anyway.
Yeah, John Sanders in the chat says it's all on Netflix.
Okay, so if that's accurate, if John's accurate there, and they're all on Netflix. That would mean that doesn't mean the Bills won't play on Christmas, but it does mean the Bills wouldn't play Kansas City on Christmas just because.
So he just posted this 2 games on Christmas. It's going to be Christmas 2 games on Netflix, and then the third on Amazon Prime.
Okay, so that's an NBC affiliate. So then again, so Bills Chiefs won't happen on Christmas, but you do think they're going to play on a holiday ultimately?
Yes, I could see them playing on. I think on Christmas.
Well, how would you feel about that? If the Bills play on Christmas, what is Christmas on this year? Thursday, or I think it's on a Friday. I know it's not on Sunday, but I'm gonna look that up while you're talking. But how would you feel if the Bills play on Christmas or Thanksgiving? Fuck Thanksgiving. I want nothing to do with Thanksgiving. Trey White tore his ACL. Von Miller tore his ACL. I'm good with not playing a Thanksgiving game ever again.
You got 2. I mean, if you had to ask me between Christmas.
It's on a Thursday, by the way.
Okay. If you had to ask me between Christmas and Thanksgiving, like what would I rather? I would rather them, aside from your freaking superstition shit, I would have to say I would prefer them to play on Thanksgiving. I think having a turkey and then watching the game would rule. I would like that. Christmas, you got to drive all over the fucking place. Like, I don't know about you. So I come home. I'm like the prodigal son returns to Buffalo. Everyone wants to see me on Christmas. So I got to go to like all my uncles and all this shit. So if the Bills game's on, I gotta make because everyone when you have Thanksgiving, no one drives anywhere. You go to someone's house, you eat turkey, you get drunk, and then you pass out. Christmas for me, I like last year, we went to like 3 or 4 different homes. You know what I mean? Like I'm not feeling Christmas. I would prefer Thanksgiving because then because I have to travel, so I'm being selfish. Like I'm like you do with your podcast. Like I don't want late games because I gotta prepare and I need more time to cheat and see what Podfather Marino's saying. But yeah, I would definitely just say like I prefer Thanksgiving for me personally, and like I don't know how fans feel, but I feel fans in general do go to different people's houses. But that's me.
John Sanders says that the press Jerry Jones in the press box is always the best part of Thanksgiving. Mark prefers Thanksgiving for sure over Christmas. Look, man, I'm superstitious. That's just how I am. And the Bills have had bad season altering luck twice on Thanksgiving. So fuck that shit. I want nothing to do with that. I would prefer they don't play on a holiday because they could ruin your holiday. You know what I mean? Well, I guess if they play at nights, it really wouldn't matter too much. But do you really want to open up gifts and drive around, like you said, and have lunch or brunch or Christmas dinner and have the Bills fucking losing? It's going to ruin your holiday, man. I don't need that.
I don't care about the ruin the holiday because it's a regular season game and the Bills are always good. So I don't think it's going to ruin my holiday. Unless someone gets hurt and like we get another Trey White type of injury, then I'll be pissed. But go ahead.
I love what John Sanders just said in the chat. It took a minute for it to come up for me. I like how the NFL says screw the NBA. We're taking over Christmas. That is so true, man. The NBA ruled on Christmas. Then football started. NFL started having a game, and now they're having 3 games. They pretty much just said, "Fuck you, NBA. This is our night now, like every other night that we want." And yeah, they have completely taken over. Shout out Nathan Dane. Hello, Bills Mafia. All right, so a couple more left here. I'm going to give you an opportunity to change your mind, though, based on the information that I told you that the CBS will protect that Bills-Chiefs game. I mean, that's not official that they're going to do that, but they're going to do that. That is the marquee matchup of the year. That's the reason why it's been on at 4:25 p.m. on Sunday through this, Mahomes and Allen era. So given that information, I want you to give me a season opener prediction now.
Okay. I still think they're going to play prime time, and I'm going to say the Ravens.
Okay.
We're going to get Lamar, playoff rematch, Lamar versus Josh.
Okay. Yeah. I actually, in my notes, have the same thing. But the rumor is, and it's just a rumor, but the rumors are that the Bills are going to open up at home on Sunday Night Football against the Cincinnati Bengals.
I can't see I don't know. I can't see 2 small markets opening up. I know like they did play a Sunday night game against the Bengals 2 years ago. I remember it was a terrible game. It was like it was a boring game. And then they played the Monday night game the year before that with Hamlin. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you do the opener with like that. That seems a little bit. For an opener, I think you want a bigger market. Those are 2 smallish markets.
Yeah, but Joe Burrow against Josh right off the
sure, but they didn't make but the Bengals didn't make the playoffs last year. Like, you're gonna really go with that? I know, like
I think it would be it certainly would be a sexy matchup, put it that way. But and I think if you go back to the last handful of years, there's no real trend with the Bills on opening week. Like last year, they played a pretty whack 1 p.m. game at home against Arizona. The year before that, it was Monday Night Football. That's when Josh Allen absolutely stunk the field up. One of the worst games he's ever played, if not the worst game ever. You do those 3 picks. They lost to the Jets in overtime that game. They played the Rams on Thursday Night Football after the Rams won the Super Bowl, and then the Bills stomped them in L.A. That was really cool. And then I can't remember the other one, but it was a 1 p.m. kind of – it was Pittsburgh. I think they lost that game too. They played like complete shit and lost at home, I believe, the opener to the Pittsburgh Steelers in week 1. I think they lost that game.
Can I ask, do we assume Aaron Rodgers is going to the Steelers? Like, is that happening?
Yeah. How's it not? I mean, they don't have a quarterback.
Yeah.
They didn't really draft one until really late. They didn't sign Kirk Cousins or make a trade or something. It's got to be Aaron Rodgers taking it.
If Rodgers goes there, I feel Bills Steelers is going to be a primetime game somewhere. Like that's going to do monster
Well,
ratings.
there's still a chance that could be the Ireland game.
Sure, well,
For
yeah.
sure. But yeah, I think Buffalo Baltimore would definitely be the game, but there's definitely said a lot of buzz going on for that. All right, last one, the season ending game. Now, again, 100% it's divisional games. That's the way the NFL's been doing it for years. I assume that's going to be the case again. So we actually both predicted the same thing. Baltimore Sunday Night Football at home to start. What do you got as your regular season finale?
It's going to be Bills at home against Miami.
Bills at home against Miami.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you that if it happens that way, there's very few things when the schedule comes out that you hope happens. Like you pay attention to when your bye is. Like you want it to be, I think, later in the season. You want to find out what teams are coming off of bye before they play you, things like that. If the Bills play, the later the Bills play Miami and Buffalo, obviously is good for the Buffalo Bills. Miami having to go to Buffalo. I got them at home as well because again, going by the 9 home, 8 road. I got them going against New England. I could see them playing the Patriots at the end of the season. I know a couple people have chimed in on the chat, and that ain't like Bill. It shouldn't be like Bills New England the last couple of years because I truly feel right now that the New England Patriots are the second best team in the AFC East.
Mm-hmm.
And it would not surprise me whatsoever if New England is very, very much, at least, if not in the divisional round, but at least in the playoff mix near the end of the season. So that could actually be a sexier matchup than we're describing right now here in the beginning of May.
Well, my thought process was like it's the last regular season game at the stadium. You know, they would want to do it against like their biggest rivalry.
That's
like,
a good point too.
That's kind of how I kind of looked at it because it's always been Miami. They have the sentiment of, I mean, who knows how Terry Pagula feels, but like, I feel like people in our generation, us older lads over here, it's Miami has always been the rival.
Craig Parkin in the live chat says, Pat and Joe, a backlash rundown, talking about WWE backlash that just happened on Saturday night. We'll see if we got a couple minutes at the end, maybe we'll have a couple thoughts. But anyway, all right, so that's our schedule predictions. I think by tomorrow, if not tomorrow being Monday or today being Monday for most people who are listening to this, you're going to find out maybe 1 or 2 primetime games. And you know how it always goes. By Wednesday lunchtime, you're going to know the schedule. It's going to be leaked all over the place. The things I care about most, I guess, is they do have 2 guys that are suspended for the first 6 games. And you're playing a lot of these good teams at home, or home schedule is more daunting. My mindset is the Bills, especially on offense, essentially they're running it back. Defense, for the most part, even though they invested a lot into these rookies with the draft, I still think other than maybe Max Harrison starting at corner, I think your defensive starters are pretty much set. You're running back a lot of the same starters. It's going to be kind of the same team from last year. Play a couple of these good teams early on at home as opposed to later in the season. That would be my personal preference for whatever reason. But I think we're on the same page. It's going to be a home opener in prime time for the Bills. I want to pull up a tweet, and I want everybody.
Do you want to take a break, by the way, or no?
No, I don't need to take a break.
All right.
I took a quick little video pause there earlier, so I know when to insert on the audio side.
All right. Sorry. I'm overproducing you, buddy.
Yeah,
okay, go ahead.
You are overproducing me right now. I want to pull up a tweet because this caught my attention. I want to get your thoughts on it. And if people want to chime in who are watching this on the video side live, I'd love to hear from them as well. Let me pull it up here. Okay. It says, my proposed test for all head coaches and GMs to be hired in the NFL. 3 things. You get Josh Allen for 7 years. He scores the most touchdowns in history over that time. He has the best touchdown to interception ratio in playoff history. I want to point that out. And then the last line is, if you don't make it to a Super Bowl, you fail the test. What do you think when you see that tweet?
Well, first off, I'm blocked by this guy, so bite me. No, I'm just kidding. That seems pretty.
It's an indictment on Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane is what it is. Basically what he's saying is you got a historically great quarterback who is broken records, like literally the most touchdowns ever in 7 years, and has the best touchdown to interception ratio ever in the playoffs and you have not made it to a Super Bowl yet. That's an indictment on the head coach and to some extent the general manager. So I want to know what you think about that.
I mean, look, we know they've also made it to 2 AFC championship games and you're knocking on the door stuff. And you and I both know they need to do that. I don't think you're fouling. Like, pass fail is so, I don't know. I hate that in football sometimes. Like the Bills they've been very good. Like, obviously we want them to get to the second level, the last level, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But there are great quarterbacks that don't get to, like, if he asked us about Lamar Jackson, who I'm pretty sure has scored a bunch of touchdowns too, he runs a blah, 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 blah. They haven't gotten to a Super Bowl. Shit, they've gotten one AFC championship game. Does that mean John Harbaugh, has to get fired? And so does them. That's hard for me to say that. If they kept losing divisional games.
I want to pull up this comment from Alex Barber, okay? Because and I love Alex, man. He's a regular on this show. I appreciate him very much, man. He has a lot of great comments. He says you could use that scenario on anyone. No, you can't. In all due respect, no, you can't, because nobody has thrown for more touchdowns or scored more touchdowns in the history of the league or had a better interception touchdown ratio ever in the league, and you haven't made it to a Super Bowl yet. I kind of feel like to some extent it's an indictment on the coach and GM. And also, I think what this tweet is suggesting is that one of the greatest NFL players to play this game, maybe ever by the time it's said and done, is going through the prime right now, and he's not playing for the biggest prize, man. I don't know. It's
tough. Like, I know it's tough to say foul to me, but look, they've been knocking on that door, and I've had my issues with how the Bills have built their roster. I think they put too much omen on signing defensive players. I think it's annoying. Like I bitched about it last week. I bitched about it 5 years ago that they just love this defensive doing the 10-line defensive rotation. It's very annoying. And I think Sean has gotten better with his game management. He's more aggressive, etc., like that. But we'll still see what happens, man. Like it's been fun when you're in the moment. I feel like it's very easy for me to be like, oh man, it's been great. Like it's been fun. Like you and I have been through the drought. It's fucking terrible.
Yeah, man.
But let me just
the door every year. I get that.
Yeah, but let me finish this though. When it all ends and Josh Allen retires and he doesn't get to a Super Bowl, that's where sometimes I think to myself, man, like it was great, but shit, we couldn't do it. You know what I mean? Because in the moment, it's fun. Like, but when you're sitting back and you're like, it's over, and he's going off into the sunset to go golf with his lady, and we're just stuck with like, and
then 10 years after that, you'll really appreciate how great he was. It's kind of like the Bills in the Super Bowl era. If you were old enough, like we were, it was awesome at the time. It sucked when it ended, when, the Bills started they fell back. But then years later, you really appreciate, like today, I just appreciate how much I got to enjoy football. Yeah. I think that's ultimately where you land. All right. So if that doesn't.
The biggest problem too, real quick, and I'm sorry, Pat, to interrupt.
Go ahead.
The biggest problem at the end of the day is that he's run into Patrick Mahomes. That is the problem. So when that guy puts that tweet out and goes, he has all this. Yeah, I got what he's saying, but
man,
it's Jordan versus freaking. It's like the 90s. It's Jordan versus Patrick Ewing. Like Patrick Ewing did a lot, but like he had Jordan he was going against.
Yeah, I get it.
Allen's going against freaking Mahomes right now, and
I think it's more Reed going against McDermott though in those games, because I think Josh has played for the most part almost, if not as well as Patrick Mahomes in these playoff games. Well, at least the last two for sure. Maybe not 2020.
I don't know about the last two. I thought the one in Buffalo, they were very conservative. I mean, he had I think less than 200 yards, the one in Buffalo 2 years ago. I mean, he had drops that sucked, obviously, but Mahomes was dialed into that game. And that's why you probably need some wide receivers, which we've talked about since fucking Moses wore pants, shorts or whatever.
I get it. Let me read something else to you, though. That could be a little, again, I'm not trying to put a knife into Sean McDermott's back, all right? I want to be clear about that, or Brandon Beane. I think for the most part, they've done a lot more good than bad, and they still are getting waxed at the piñata every year. I understand that, but they haven't broken it yet. But here's another thing. Most points ever scored over the course of 5 NFL seasons. There's 5 teams. I got my phone in front of me so I don't fuck this up. Number 1, the New England Patriots from 2007 to 2011 scored the most points in the history of the NFL. They went to 2 Super Bowls. Number 3, the Rams from 99 to 03. They're third all time. They have a Super Bowl win. They got to 2 Super Bowls. The 4th team was the Saints from 09 to 13. They won a Super Bowl. The 5th is the Kansas City Chiefs from 2009 to 2023, and they won 3 Super Bowls. The Buffalo Bills are number 2 in the history of the NFL all time in points scored over these last 5 years, and they have not been to a Super Bowl. To me, again, historically, last year was a historically great offense. The last 5 years have been the second most points in NFL history that have been scored ever, and they have not been to a Super Bowl. That's alarming because we keep talking about cracks at the piñata. Well, are you going to take it for granted that year after year after year after year, you're going to keep getting cracks at those piñatas? It's like they got to break through, and it's got to happen relatively soon, I feel like.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm hoping. I mean, look, I think they had a decent offseason, and I think they have improved in a lot of facets of that. Mm-hmm. So I think they are trying, but trying and getting it right are 2 different things, and like that's my issue is like, are you doing it on the right side of the football, which I've complained about forever. I'll say this, like, Mahomes is like Brady, where like Brady for 20 years dominated the AFC. And like, who were the guys that I'm trying to think, like, who were the guys that couldn't get into the Super Bowl who were great? You know what I mean? During that time frame, like Peyton Manning got in the Super Bowl. Joe Flacco got in. Ben Roethlisberger.
Josh is significantly better than Philip Rivers ever was. But Philip Rivers.
No, you didn't hear me. Hold on. I mean, he's the only guy, but there are great guys that have gotten through, like Peyton Manning, Ben Roethlisberger got through. Yeah. Like going against Brady, having to deal with Brady, like those guys got in multiple times. Rivers, you're right. Like Rivers didn't, but Rivers, that team was never good around him. I mean, I think the Bills have a much better team than Rivers did. And I think ownership in San Diego was not great. But, I mean, aside from Rivers, like he's the only one, you're right. It's the only guy I could think of. Maybe Carson Palmer a little bit, like with the Bengals. I don't know. Like he kind of never, like he was good for that time frame. But that's the issue right now.
It gets into a topic because I want to get to other things, but it's a never-ending debate. They could have scored 7 more points and they win, but you give up 7 less points or 4 less points and you win without question. And it's not debatable that the mindset of the Bills right now was this is why they got so much defense, because they figure the offense is good enough to win, and it has been in the playoffs as well. The defense needs to give them an extra possession or 2 or to get a turnover or 2 in the playoffs that it's just not getting. Simple as that. Let's get into a couple other things. But anyway, I just thought that was it stuck out at me when you realize just historically.
Yeah, like how historically great he is. Yeah, and that's the thing, like, with, I don't know, I'm trying to compare like the Bills 90s to Josh Allen. Like those 90s teams are better than the current team because like they have like 5 Hall of Famers.
Sure.
The Bills right now, you got one basically is going to the Hall of Fame. And that's Josh Allen. And that's where you sit there and go, man, like you need better guys around him.
Dan Marino could potentially, but at least Dan Marino made it to 1. But Dan Marino is an all-time great, an all-time legend, like Josh Allen's on pace to be right now. But Dan Marino got to a Super Bowl early, and then he could never get back to one because he couldn't beat Jim Kelly and the Bills in the playoffs. He couldn't beat Joe Montana and the Chiefs in the playoffs, or Warren Moon and the Oilers in the playoffs. These other great quarterbacks. He just good, especially the Bills, obviously, because they went to 4 in a row. But it's like kind of that vibe. But again, Marino got to 1. And I think most Bills fans just want to see the Bills or Josh Allen get to a Super Bowl.
I just want to win one. That's all. Look, I told you before, if they win one, I'm off this podcast. I'm quitting. I'm out. Like I told you, I'm out.
I might quit myself if they win one. All right. There are a couple of things I want to get to. The Bills embedded episode a handful of days ago dropped, and those are always, I think they're entertaining, and it does take you behind the scenes. Although I will caution that when you watch them, and I know you got a thought as it pertains to Jeremy White, I want to get your take on that, but generally speaking, like this was a draft one, and when they edit it, it shows you how in they were on Max Hairston and how much they like PJ Sanders and how much they like Landon Jackson. And with the editing, very cleverly done, of course, it makes it look like those were the guys they were in on the entire
Yeah,
time.
it's propaganda.
If the Bills would have drafted Tyreek Williams, they probably had tons of footage about them being excited about Tyreek Williams, his interview, draft night. Oh, he's still on the board. He's still on the board. Maybe he might follow us, this and that. So I get the clever editing. It still is fun, though, to take you behind the scenes and go into the war room and, when the players are touring the facility, things like that. I enjoy those episodes a lot. But
I can do without the touring the facility. I'm so sick of the tour. That's going to be on a future bingo card. Like, yes, we get it. They have a great facility.
What were your thoughts on the Bills predominantly early in that episode of Embedded, bringing up the Jeremy White stuff, Brandon Beane going on? Because a lot of people have been bitching, saying, let it go. It's old news. People accusing Jeremy on Twitter of, continuing to keep the story going. But yet you watch Bills Embedded and fucking it's the Bills themselves that are rehashing the Jeremy White thing. What's your thought on that?
I mean, I thought it was super interesting to the point to where I was Googling. I'm like, is WGR's radio rights expiring soon? And they're just like, let's torch this fucking relationship. I was shocked. I mean, it's not only that you showed it in the beginning of that clip, like they did it with him going on McAfee and Bros Bean and them asking him about that, and then they shoot right to they don't even play like Jeremy White's clip from like earlier, like because Brandon Beane comes on and he goes, "Oh, I was listening to you guys beforehand." They don't show that clip of where it's pretty tame between Jeremy and Sal. And then they just go right to Brandon Beane, like yelling at Jeremy. And then you do that, and then you double down. That's why I thought it was a little bit hypocritical, or kind of like, look, I get it. All these teams, they love cashing receipts and cold taking people. After Jeremy does his thing, or after Brandon Beane shits on Jeremy, they go to all the national guys saying like, yeah, like fuck that. You're right, Brandon Beane. You did a great job. And I'm thinking to myself, you guys have posted so many social videos of like Nick Wright saying the Bills aren't going to do this, or freaking Hugh Doug, whatever. They love the cashing on the receipts, and now you're going to use that, in terms of like shitting on Jeremy. Like, you double down, you triple down. You not only double down by showing that, you had all these national people say, "Oh, you're full of shit," and it got me thinking, like as I said, a couple different things. One, are there radio rights coming up soon? Two, like, they really are going very hard against WGR, which as we talked about, they weren't as critical about the wide receiver position this offseason as they were in the past. And it's like, why didn't you go after them like a couple years ago or before that? Or even when they talked about culture, like they've kind of gagged on the culture a little bit, like Shope especially has. And they just decide to do that. And there was even a part of me that thought, maybe they were like, I don't want to say fixed, but I had heard a story when the Josh Allen was overrated thing happened with the ESPN article, that the Bills PR had told a reporter to ask Brandon Beane about that. And then they asked Brandon Beane. Brandon Beane did one of his soliloquies about, like, how dare these people? And then like 3 minutes later, it's on Bill's Twitter, like boom. And there's a part of me that's thinking, they didn't ask him that so they could get some social media stuff up online. And there's a part of me that's wondering, maybe he like decided to do this. Like PR was like, hey, let's do this so we can put this on Bills Embedded and get viral, and all that sort of shit. Because it's just so weird how they keep doing this, having this go. And I'll just say this: look, Jeremy is the type of guy I would say, like, I don't know if that's the guy you want to fight with a little bit, because that guy keeps receipts, whether you like him or not. If he's even in the ballpark of being right, and the defense like doesn't flourish, or the wide receivers struggle, that dude is going to make a big deal about it. He's not going to fucking go and be quiet and be scared, and he's going to go on. And it's just, as I said, it was just odd. Like, they doubled down on a media partner, and I've never seen that before. And it's just insane in terms of how they did that. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow.
I kind of enjoy the the feistiness between all that shit. It keeps it going during the off season when there's not a lot of shit to talk about, which, by the way, I don't know if you ever read this. Is Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar Blackberry? It's fucking great. But anyway, it's the time of year where there ain't shit going on, man. You got to have things to talk about. We'll just spend a half a show talking about a fucking schedule prediction that's going to be meaningless in 24 hours. That's what we do this time of year. Rookie minicamp started Friday. I know that you care so much about that and how guys look in their first appearance as a Buffalo Bill in their uniform. We did see some discourse already between media and content creators, the school of thought where don't take anything serious what's talked about now, which is true. Also, media people who cover the team are giving you their first impressions of how a player looks, size-wise, speed, whatever, which is perfectly reasonable as well. So again, it's kind of just like one of those, it's that time of year. Let's find things to beef about because it's just in everyone's DNA that you got to beef about something. I see both sides. Rookie minicamp means literally zero, but I got no beef with Joe Biscaglia or Sal or any of these guys, Matt, and whoever it may be, talking about how fast Maxwell Harrison looks or, how big Landon Jackson looks or how swift TJ Sanders is moving or yada, yada, yada. It's their first impressions of them. So I got no beef with it. Just don't put a lot of stock into it because it don't mean shit, right?
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything. And, I probably the whole, I hate this time of year because it's just boring and it's just contrived shit. I think if you're like a media member, yeah, I get it. You got to tweet out like this guy practiced today. He looked good. That's fine. But when you say like things like, oh, he was the MVP of OTAs or he was the MVP of rookie mini camp, that's when it's like, all right, you're just trying to get those clicks when you got the buzzwords about that. It's a little bit too much. Like I saw like one content bro, I don't know who it was. I've never heard of this guy, but he was on my YouTube feed and he had something like the title of his article and he got like 20,000 views. So good for him. Was something along the lines of OTA big news, like something like that. I'm like,
was it what? Dan Mitchell?
Who was it?
Was it Dan Mitchell?
No, it was some Matty Dubs guy. I'd never heard of this guy. And like, but like the headline was like, it was just excitement. I was like, what the hell is this? I was like, okay, there's no such thing. Like, that's when it's like, and that's an aggravator, like, so, but like, if you're a media person and you're there and you're tweeting out like things like, oh, I can't wait to see this guy who's like a 5th rounder because he's fat in minicamp. I'm like, okay, like, take it easy. But I do fall more of like a fan who is stupid enough to fall for that. Because you and I, we're old. We're not. Look, we remember Chase Claypool being the MVP of training of OTAs last year, and all these rookies look like Kwame Cavill looking good, and like from 20 years ago. Like it's all bullshit. It's just a distraction. Like I get it. The Bills are a big deal. But I think when you do to cover these OTAs, I think it's a good time to, cultivate relationships and do feature stories because the Bills, Sal and Beauvais did an interview with not Brandon B. They did an interview with Sean McDermott. It was like a 42-minute interview. Sean McDermott's never doing that during the regular season. You're lucky you get 5 minutes with him. And it was a decent interview, like for him. Like, it wasn't great, but Brandon B never talks, or not Brandon B. Sean McDermott's kind of stiff, but they had some nice moments. But that's when you go
40 minutes is a long time for
but that's what a content creator should do, like what a reporter should do. That's when you go there and you're like, hey, I want to do a feature story, like follow Josh Allen around for OTAs or follow a player around, like go in this fucking car and see what he does 3 days a week. I don't know, like something like a feature like that. But doing like play-by-play OTA practice or filming videos, that's lame. I'll say this. I don't know. You probably didn't listen to the interview, but there was this one quote. I don't know if you saw it, but from that Sal Beauvais interview where some guy went up to freaking McDermott at a baseball field and was like, he introduced himself, and was like, hey, like, I lost hope a little bit with you guys, but I'm glad you're here. And then the fan goes to McDermott like, but I feel like you guys are settling for second place too much. And like McDermott was like very like, his quote was, you don't know who I am, you don't know what I feel. I'm like, Jesus. I'm like, I thought to myself, what fucking fan would go up to a coach and be like, yeah, you seem like you're settling for shit. And it was so weird. It was such a weird story and dynamic.
I heard about it. I haven't listened to the interview yet because I was in Elkaville, like I said, for the last.
You were getting drunk, but it was
getting my drink on. But I did hear about that. I thought that was.
It was such a weird, like, it went from like a happy story of, oh, the guy was like, thank you for what you've done, and to all of a sudden he's like, you guys look like you're really resting on your laurels. I'm paraphrasing, and McDermott was pissed. I was like, Jesus Christ! I was like, I don't think I could ever do that. I've seen some players in public back in my 20s in Buffalo, and even if they were terrible, I was super nice and like, go kill someone. And, that shit.
I just want to say, too, before we wrap up with a couple of our regular segments here, and then we're going to finish, I get some really good comments from the live audience. Two things. Number one, I'm keeping my eye while we're talking, and I'm not pulling them all up on screen, but one of my favorite things about doing a live taping on Sundays for a Monday podcast is on the video side, the chat. Like, there are some really good debates going on. In fact, I don't even think they give a shit at this point what you and I are talking about.
They care what I'm saying, not you.
They're having their own debate in the live chat, which you can see in the replay. I think that's really cool. It's just because it's people that are really being engaged with the show. And again, they're not really, they're talking to each other. They're not really talking about what, or, responding so much to what we're talking about. But I really like that a lot. And I do want to ask everybody, because we got we're over 600 now on the live side on the video as we're recording this. If you could take at some point, you could either pause this now or afterwards, if you can remember, please go to either Spotify or Apple and just type in Talking Buffalo and follow on the audio side, because it's the only place where you're guaranteed to get every single episode, including bonus episodes, in full. If StreamYard takes a shit like almost happened last week, you're always going to get on the audio side everything in full. Plus, it really helps with the algorithm and us growing this show. So even if you are watching this and you typically watch on the YouTube, also, if you could follow us on Spotify or Apple, just take 2 seconds, type in, like I said, Talking Buffalo, hit that follow button, really helps us. But yeah, keeping it up in the chat. It's really, really, really cool, man. I appreciate you guys very much. Let's get into a couple of we'll take a little bit of a left turn here before we finish with some Bills comments. Our segments each week now for the last handful of weeks, which I think has been kind of fun. You've been doing a true and false segment, which I will comment on. So last week you forgot it. You didn't. You just However, you did, though, in the heat of the moment, ask me a true and false about Gabe Davis, which was really ironic because almost instantly he got cut from Jacksonville. Which, again, this time of year, you're looking for content, man, oh man, some Gabe Davis, the Bills reunion talk. That sure did the trick over parts of last week. But it was just funny how you brought that up. Will the Bills ever be a reunion of Gabe Davis? And I said, oh. And then 24 hours later, your boy's getting cut from the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I thought that was funny. But anyway, what do you got for this week's true and false segment?
Yeah, I'll just say this because we got still time. Gabe Davis, he hasn't signed anywhere yet, right?
No, he has not.
He hasn't. I don't. If anyone cares about my take, I don't know if. I know you probably did like 3 shows on this. I don't know if I would want him back or not.
I'm just looking at he says, "Can you guys quiet down?" I'm typing. You saw I was going back and forth.
Nice.
Anyway, it was funny.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if I want Gabe Davis here or not. What was because I don't listen to your show. On? Yeah, did you want?
You don't listen to the show if you're not.
I don't
on
listen to your shitty show. Yeah, exactly.
I'd be fine with it, but I don't have zero expectations. I think why would Gabe Davis want to come to the Bills? He'd be fighting for his life to make this roster. There's teams out there that are far more needy of a wide receiver. Like, he's got an opportunity to be a wide receiver 2 or 3, or at worst 4 on some other teams, like maybe Pittsburgh, or I'm sure there's a couple other teams out there. Carolina, there's a handful of teams. Buffalo, I think they're top 5. When I looked at Elijah Moore's contract, which is fully guaranteed, not that that's a guarantee he's going to make the team, but he probably is. I think Gabe Davis would have a very hard time making this team. Not that he can't. Plus, I don't think it would be a good look for Keon Coleman if you're bringing in a guy who basically is Keon Coleman, an older version. Although Gabe's only 26, I just think there's more opportunities around the league for Gabe.
Well, I mean, I'll say this about why he should want to come back, and I probably feel the same way, but I'm going to play devil's advocate. If you come back here, you got the chemistry with Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm.
He did have 2 100-yard games with Joe Brady as the OC, which it might be equal to more than any wide receiver had last year in games, because no one ever got over 100 yards, it felt like, in games. But he did have them twice with Brady. The other thing too is he could get more targets in a way because Stephon Diggs isn't here. Like, in terms of Diggs got a lot of targets when he was here. Maybe he'll get more targets because he's there. He's got the chemistry. He's been there longer. Those are just, and he is kind of a deep threat. He does catch bombs. That's all he kind of did here. I hear all you're saying about the Keon Coleman thing.
There's not a real path. If they could cut Curtis Samuel, like if Elijah Moore took Samuel's role and they cut Samuel and then you brought in Gabe Davis, I could see that.
You could. I mean, Curtis, why do you could?
It would cost you. Well, I shouldn't say, I won't go as far as to say you can't, that it's impossible. But I mean, you're talking a big, and I'm going to pull it up here because I want to make sure I get my facts live here on the live show. But there is not only is there zero financial incentive to cut Curtis Samuel, there's literally you're going to lose money. So if they were to cut Curtis Samuel, let's say they cut him at camp, right? Mm-hmm. They would have to eat $8.6 million in dead cap money, and they would only save $400,000 against the cap.
Yeah, but look, $8 million is not a lot when your cap is what, $250 million. It's not that crazy.
It technically could happen. Technically, it could happen. I would be stunned if they. Plus, not to mention the problem with the Bills' passing game. The only problem with the Bills' passing game last year is motherfuckers can't separate. And you're going to go get a guy who can get down the field, but he's got unreliable hands. He's a guy that Allen is forced the ball to in the pass, and he don't separate well.
Well, first off, I don't. It's not really about separation as well. Josh Allen was inaccurate with down the field throws last year. Podfather Marino had stats where he talked about that. In terms of
I love that name. I can't wait.
Father Marino, I love it too. He'll but he's inaccurate throws. Like Dalton Kincaid had, inaccurate throws down the field. Gabe Davis is a guy he's caught bombs from him. So I would, if you were, let me ask you this real quick. If you forget the cap, would you rather have, this is just you and I are at a bar stool drinking, you're drinking your shitty Bud Light, I'm drinking my wine. Who do you think is a better player, Gabe Davis or Curtis Samuel?
All right, if money was no factor and I can only have one of those two guys.
Yeah.
I probably would say Gabe Davis because again, he can get down the field. He's had big games and he's a great blocker too.
Yes.
I just don't, Gabe Davis being on the Buffalo Bills, to me personally, this is just my own personal opinion and maybe I'm wrong, but Gabe Davis being on the Bills would stunt Keon Coleman's growth and playing time, I think, because Gabe Davis gets down the field. Gabe Davis is a great blocker, and he was a former captain, and the team loves him. The organization loves him. He didn't leave there because he got cut or they didn't want him back. He left there because he got a $39 million deal with Jacksonville, and Buffalo wasn't going to pay that much money, especially last year of all years for Gabe Davis.
I just don't know about the stunting injury thing, because, injuries do happen, or stunting Keon thing, because injuries happen. Like guys got hurt, and then it's next man up. I don't know. I wouldn't, and it is kind of after Shakir, who is your number one wide receiver as of right now. I would say your best wide receiver.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of a montage group of guys where you're yeah, I get it. There's guys who are guaranteed. MVS was guaranteed money last year, and they were fuck you, we don't care about you. So I don't know. I just I
don't see it, but I don't think Gabe's going to sign here because I just don't. All the stuff we're talking about, he has to overcome all that to even make this team, let alone get on the field. There's got to be other teams out there where there's going to be more opportunity. I say that now, and he's going to probably get a Adam Schefter tweet Monday late afternoon that he signs a 1-year proof deal with the Bills. So who the hell knows?
Who knows?
What do you got for true? And
all right,
false?
True and false, and everyone, please play along in the chat. Number one, and you and I kind of talked about this offline. So, the best player who used to play for the Bills, who is the best player who used to play for the Bills and is still in the league that I would want on this team is Wyatt Teller. So think about, and just tell that's true or false. The best former Bills player who is in the league right now, who is still playing, that you would want on this team right now is Wyatt Teller. True or false?
I think it's true because maybe someone can point out someone else, but I don't know a better player around the league that the Bills could also use right now. Like, I thought about Leonard Floyd, but the Bills got Bosa, they got pass rusher, so I don't need Leonard Floyd. I like Javon Sullivan as well. I told you off air who the other guy would be that they can actually use, but you don't want that. I would say White. I mean, he's a two-time All-Pro, but I don't know. Somebody in the chat has said Harrison Phillips is probably a candidate. Mark says Stephon Diggs.
If Diggs is healthy and like didn't come off with an injury, I would say yes. But ACLs, I'm not touching that right now.
He's a two-time Pro Bowler, man. He's a guy. Look, but here's the thing: the Bills' offensive line is dope. It's good. And David Edwards is perfectly fine. But I think Wyatt Teller. I think everybody objectively would agree that Wyatt Teller is a better football player than David Edwards. I don't know what his contract is. It's probably a good chunk of change. So does that factor? I'm going to throw it out there. I want to see what people said. I said the Bills, the one thing they don't have right now is a punter. So what about Matt Eliza? No, out there. He punted well for the Chiefs, man. The Bills.
He sucked in the Super Bowl. Find a different punter. No, I'm good.
Well, at least one person in the chat agreed with me. Spin agreed with me there. Okay, but anyway, I think it's true. Ralph Wilson Sr. said Gilmore. I would have said Gilmore pre-draft. I would have said Gilmore, but now you got Hairston. You signed Trey White. You drafted Dorian Strong, and no, I'm good with not having Gilmore. Yeah, and look to your point, because John said Ariza was average last year. Okay, but here's a credit to Brandon Beane. There's not former Buffalo Bills floating around the league that, oh my God, I wish I had this guy back on the team because we could really use him right now. It kind of says the guys he says goodbye to don't have a lot left, and they're not really desired to be on this team.
That's true. Or they don't. I mean, the other one is Tremaine Edmonds, like maybe, and I haven't kept up with him in Chicago. Like,
good, but I don't know that,
Yeah, but you know what? He could be like again, this is like hypothetical. Like he could be Matt Milano's replacement a little bit because Milano's injuries kind of still worry me a little bit. Sure, he's not, you know what I mean? And
middle guy, but yeah, I mean, sure. I'm sure he could play that. Anyway, John Sanders had Poona Ford. I'm like, yo, Poona Ford was dope last year, but Poona Ford was with the Bills, and Sean McDermmott didn't have any interest in using him. But anyway, my answer is true. Hit me up next.
All right, next. True or false? Sabres fans shouldn't care that Eric Stahl played for the Carolina Panthers. He's just got hired by your boy Kevin Adams. Should fans care? I'm going to say fans shouldn't care that Eric Stahl played for the Carolina Panthers.
I say that's true. Fans shouldn't give a shit. Now, fans should give a shit that this team's a fucking laughing stock and a complete and utter disgrace and a joke. And Kevin Adams somehow, some way is going to be a GM, and they're going to get advisors, whatever it may be, special assistants and advisors and yada, yada, yada. And we're hearing about guys who are approached but not interested. But at the end of the day, all these guys are going to come in and out, including Eric Stahl, whatever. But Kevin Adams is still the GM, so piss on him, man. But you
don't care about the background, like he played for the the Carolina Hurricanes. Like you don't care about the 06, like how he fucked them over 05, 06. Like
I'll give a shit.
Were you even watching hockey in 05, 06? I feel like you were like in a gutter somewhere.
The Sabres were pretty good then.
Yeah, you barely watched. You were watching fucking Deontay Whitner's Twitter probably during that time frame trying to play with him.
Yeah, okay. I don't think they should care.
Okay. True or false, everyone in the chat as well. If you go to a buffet, you should still tip the waiter 20%.
If you go to a buffet?
Yes, you should still tip the waiter 20%.
Oh, God. Man. Oh, I don't.
So everyone knows who has been to a buffet. All your waiter's doing is getting your drinks and taking your plate away from the table. That's all they're doing.
Okay.
Do you see what I did there? Yes. So that's when you go to a buffet.
Yeah. Okay, so I had something else in my mind, but yeah, if you're doing a service, if you're taking away plates and cleaning up stuff, I would say true. I think true. I mean, 15, 20%. Pushing it, man, but they probably deserve something because they're not serving you, but they're cleaning up after you. So I do think they should be tipped. I think a more appropriate question should be that something that I struggle with, and this is the way it is a lot of times now. So when you go to a sub shop, right?
Yeah.
And you go into Jersey Mike's, okay? We'll use the name everybody knows. You go to Jersey Mike's and you get 2 steak hoagies and I don't know, and fries and a drink for you and your wife, husband, whatever, and it comes out to 45, $50. That guy did nothing but take your order at the front counter. Do you tip when you order fast food for takeout now?
Well, I think they split those with everyone there.
They do.
They splits that with the cook and everyone. So that's why you have to kind of think about it, with the buffet. Like
I can tell you from experience, though, if you're a server, so let's say, and I'll use Imperial, but you could use Doc's, you can use any restaurant basically. You and I go sit down at Imperial, and a server comes and they take our, and we get some food, we get some beer. That server gets a tip. They'll also tip out the busser who will come and clean up the table and stuff after they get a couple bucks. But cooks, everybody who prepares the food, who touches the food, who preps the pizza, they don't all get tipped. So I don't know. I'm not sounding like a cheapskate. I'm an anti-cheapskate. I'm actually above and beyond kind
Where's
of.
my fucking payment, buddy, for doing this fucking show?
But I think it's much more complex when it comes to if somebody's just taking your order, whether they split it or not, with the guy who makes the subs. That's where I feel like the company needs to pay them better, as opposed to say servers and stuff. Servers, bartenders, that all goes without saying. If you don't tip at minimum 15, 20%, you're a piece of shit. So anyway.
Well, I'm going to say false, by the way, because I don't tip 20% on buffets. I don't. I just think it's the buffet is you're just giving me a plate or not even you're taking my plate away. Like I'm not giving you 20%. If I have a buffet, like today we spent a lot on this for Mother's Day. We spent like $50 for a buffet each. That's $100. So if I'm doing 20%, I'm giving you $20.
Sure.
To freaking just come by and go, what do you want to drink? And one drink, and then I'm doing all the work. You're not. I can't give you 20%. You're getting like
20% is a lot for that. I agree.
I don't even know if I'm going 15. I might be a little cheap. I'm sorry.
I don't even know that it's cheap. I don't know that there's a right or wrong answer, but I do know there's a lot of people out there that will sit down to eat, get served dinner, and get it served everything, and they tip maybe $5 on a $70 order. Those are the real shit bags out there. And there's
what about beer? What about alcohol drinks? If I get a beer, do you think here's a $1 tip for you serving me a beer is good or no?
Yeah, $1 or $2, and it depends. If you're going to sit at the bar, and are you going to order and tip $1 or $2 each time, or do you just wait till you get your bill?
That's a difficult thing for me with the bar, because if I'm at the bar watching a game for 2 hours and I get 2 drinks, am I giving you $10?
Yeah, depends. I don't know. I bartended for 20 years, so I got a bartender mentality. So I'm kind of, like I said, a bit of an over tipper, but I do have my limits, and there's things I wonder about, especially the fast food. All right, what else we got? Anything else?
Okay, yes, I got 2 more. Okay. Sabu, who died today, at 60
years old.
Sabu is on the Mount Rushmore for ECW. True or false? I'm saying true, but I'm saying Sabu is on Mount Rushmore for ECW.
All right, well, for sure, RVD is on the Mount Rushmore. Sure. Tommy Dreamer. Probably. What the hell is the guy's name? The psycho who always took a Tommy. I said Tommy Dreamer, actually.
Okay, so RVD, Tommy Dreamer. You mean Sandman?
The Sandman, probably.
Okay.
And probably Sabu. Probably Sabu. Or Paul Heyman, obviously. I still think he deserves it. But we won't count Paul Heyman because he's
well, what about Taz? You're not. Were you a big ECW fan growing up?
Moderately. I wasn't all in on ECW. I thought it was kind of fucking outlandish.
Really?
Yeah.
I loved the ECW. I went to the Burt Flickinger Center all the time in Buffalo. That's where they used to they used to wrestle at in downtown ECC. I went to like 5-6 shows there. I loved it. I was like 50. I was a teenager. Sabu did some freaking crazy stories or moves. If anyone ever goes down. Yeah, Big Dick Dudley Tooch. I always say this, Tooch, because you remember the Dudleys. I left that arena once, and like the way you leave that arena, there's like glass. There's a gym that you could see through the glasses, and we saw the Dudley boys like just chilling inside, and some fan starts banging on the window, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, Bubba Ray just opens the window and he goes, "Get the fuck away from the window!" Like we're all like, everyone's like, "Oh shit!" And like it was hilarious. But I love that thing. But I would definitely I would put Sabu on there. I'd take Dreamer out. I like Taz more. Taz was awesome. Taz ruled.
Sure.
So.
I think there's about 7 to 8 guys where you can make a very reasonable case, and Sabu's certainly one of them. All right, let's get to the last one here.
Okay, the last one. I feel like I may have asked you this before, but maybe I haven't. The best fast food chain restaurant is Wendy's.
Yeah, probably false. False. I think it's false. Yeah, man. It's the most basic one, the most popular one everyone knows. But I still like, in parts, I've always been to McDonald's.
Oh.
Now, people in New York and Buffalo don't even know about Zaxby's. But I'll tell you right now, when I was in Florida, it was Zaxby's 125% Zaxby's, a gazillion percent. But I don't know. It's not. I don't know if it's McDonald's or not. I might change my mind a few times, but it definitely is not Wendy's to me. I just
really, I like Wendy's. It things fresh.
Good. I don't think the burgers are that good, man. If I'm in a burger mood, that's just not. That don't do it for me. Sometimes.
I mean, I don't really. I feel like you're the type of guy who goes and gets fast food a lot, but I guess you don't. I don't either. I only like. If I ever do fast food, it's gonna be that. Like if I have to pick like a burger joint, it will be Wendy's. I don't like McDonald's. My wife worked there when she was a teenager, and she said it was terrible.
I try not to get fast food too much, and it's not that I eat well, because trust me, I fucking don't. It's that if I'm going to spend $14 on a Whopper combo at Burger King, I'm just going to go get a steak sub for $2 more at Subway or Jim's Steakout or Whopper. One of those types of places. Don't sleep on Subway, man.
No, Subway. I used to get Subway all the time, but then that processed meat is pretty shitty. But like you can get a lot of vegetables at the Subway, and
what about Arby's? Arby's, I can go. I'm in the mood. I'm going.
Ralph Wilson Sr. Boston Market was the shit. That was a good spot.
It is. It's back in Buffalo. Where, man? Ralph Wilson Sr. Where is it back in Buffalo? I'm a Boston Market guy. I don't know of it being in Buffalo. Used to be one near the McKinley Mall. I used to go there and get a pound of turkey and then shit my brains out for 3 hours afterwards. I ate a whole pound of turkey. Used to love going to that place, man, but that shit closed a while ago. Let's get to our Mount Flushmore, okay? Yeah. So each week I do a Mount Flushmore. Instead of a Mount Rushmore, I do a Mount Flushmore, which is the worst of something. And in honor of Mother's Day, I'm going with the lousy TV moms. Is that a hot take alarm going off in New York?
Yeah, we live down the street. It's always that fire and that comes down.
Anyway,
go ahead.
All right, so this is my Mount Flushmore of TV moms. All right, number one, and this is the most obvious one, so I'm going to go right off the bat. If Livia Soprano's not on your list of the worst TV moms ever, then I don't even know what you're doing. She is the ultimate lock. She just spewed hate on her kids their whole life. She literally tried to have Tony killed. Kind of like the main premise, an underrated main premise of The Sopranos was Tony in therapy, in part because of anxiety, but also he had mommy issues like throughout. You know what I mean? So that had a lot to do with it. So Livia Soprano to me is an absolute lock. Next on my list, I don't know if you watched Veep, but Selena Myers. Absolutely a horrible
She was
mother.
Pretty bad, yeah.
She was awesome. Such a funny character. One of my favorite TV comedies ever. But she only cares about being president. That's it. All she wanted to do is be president and have power. And she consistently treated her daughter, Catherine, like shit. You know what I mean? Like zero support for her. But it was funny. It was comedic gold. It was brilliant. The last two is actually the same actress. So shout out to Katie Sagal. Peg Bundy. She's on my list. Terrible wife and mom on Married with Children. Her husband's terrible too, though. So maybe that's why she was like she was. But she was terrible giving advice to her kids, or both kind of like absolute brats. Although Christina Applegate was hot as hell. She kind of bucked a trend, like in the 90s. Like every TV sitcom had like a great TV mom, like whether they were a stay-at-home housewife or whether they were a working woman, whatever it may be. They were all good TV moms, but Peg Bundy in the 90s was fucking terrible. So kind of a leader in that. And then also the same actress, my last one was Gemma Teller Morrow from Sons of Anarchy. I don't know if you've ever watched that show.
I did not watch that.
You have not watched Sons of Anarchy? Are you kidding me?
I haven't watched it.
Holy shit. God damn, you got to watch. That's got to be your next binge, dude. Trust me, man. That's got to be your next binge.
We're still on you right now.
I'm going to be careful then because you have not seen this. So I'm not going to describe.
No, go ahead. I don't give a shit. Go ahead.
You need to watch this show. Anyone in the chat, if you have not seen Sons of Anarchy, what are we doing here, man? Anyway, she spends the whole series just lying, manipulating her kid, her son Jax. You can argue it comes from a place of love, but it's really evil. I'm not going to give it away because there's too many things that if you ever do watch it. Just take my word for it. She is fucking brutal. And I had 2 for honorable mention. Judith Blythe from Arrested Development. She was terrible. And Monica Gallagher from Shameless. I don't know if you ever watched that series, but she was a drug addict and fucked her kids over. All right, so that's my I
definitely agree with Olivia Soprano. She was from Buffalo. Rest in peace. The actress who played for her. I always wonder what that show would have been like if she stayed alive in real life. Like, what would have happened? Would she have gone to trial with Tony and all that sort of stuff? I agree with her on there. I thought about Peggy Bundy a little bit because she was terrible, but I think Cersei should be on the list. I don't know how you don't have Cersei Lannister on the list.
She's an evil person, but I thought about her.
Terrible mom. Her good kids got killed. Joffrey was the worst kid of all time. That's a bad parody job there.
Incestual fucking kids on top of all that too.
Yeah, she should be on there. Roseanne was a horrible mom. Like on the Connors, and like she was terrible. Like she was a bad, like white trash. Ugh. Yeah, like, she was terrible. And some people in the chat have talked about. You've watched Breaking Bad, right, Pat?
Oh yeah. She's up there. Skylar White. Lots of hate in the chat, rightfully so. Now I deserve the shade right now. A lot of Skylar White.
Yeah, I mean she was. But the thing about Skylar, she was more annoying than I don't know what she was more annoying. What was she bad about? Like, I mean, she was just annoying and like manipulative. I guess she was bad, but I gotta put Cersei on there. Cersei was terrible. Like, Cersei was a bad mom.
Spin. I'm not gonna repeat what he said, but Spin is a
her brother did Spin.
Cersei, man. Sarah said that not a fan of Cersei. Yeah, look, I thought of her because again, she is a horrible person, but in terms, it's like she really did a lot of crazy shit to defend her kids, but she also wanted
to kill. She waged war and like she blew up her freaking son-in-law or her brother. Remember when she blew up the scepter? Like, she's a bad mom, dude.
Okay, all right. I'll give you that. Let's get to, before we get out of here, I got a handful of the comments, which, again, they've been so awesome. And a lot of these, even if I don't bring them up, there's just been some really good banter going on amongst each other here in the live chat. Mark said, I don't care that Josh is going on the Today Show. I just hope he is working on that deep ball this summer. Look, if there's one hole in Josh Allen's game, I think it would be get a little bit better at throwing the deep ball. He curbed the dumb decisions and the bad turnovers last year, but still a little bit something lacking on the deep ball. Ralph Wilson Sr., last season at Rich. Nice to have 9 games at home. Yes, I still call it Rich Stadium. Do you ever call it Rich Stadium still?
No, I call it the Ralph. Or the stadium. Okay. I will say this, though. I hate the Highmark Stadium name. It's so lame. New Era Field, I thought had a lot of potential. Like, it made sense. Because if you're going to do, like, a stadium name, I get it. You got to do sponsors. It has to be, like, I always thought, like, if Marvel, you call it, like, the Marvel Coliseum, like Marvel from Disney. Like, that would be cool. Like, and New Era Field kind of had that feel. But, like, Highmark Stadium, it sounds fucking cheesy.
Yeah, it's a new stadium. I haven't paid any attention.
No, it is. It's supposed to be Highmark. Yeah, they already put one of the letters or some shit there. Fucking Bill's Twitter handle. They're posting every snail's pace. Like they just installed seats. By the way, they installed seats. Like they had one fan who came down in the. I think he was in an 11. He was in a Cole Beasley jersey. Had a giant hole where his stomach was. So they basically brought this fan in to like sit in his own seat, and he put like a marking on there. Like seat number 1, and the seat wasn't even cushioned. I'm like, they're not cushioning the seats. Like, what the fuck, people? Like they're plastic, which tells me they're cheap. And let me tell you something, man. I would not want plastic seats. And it's a foldable plastic seats. Like, I would not want plastic seats at that stadium because there's still going to be drunks there jumping on that shit. Like, that feels like there's going to be some broken freaking chairs. But again, I haven't touched them, and I could just be trolling.
Unrelated, I think the stadium is going to be a lot of fun this year. Everyone knowing that it's the last year at the stadium, I think they're going to go a little bit harder, and it's going to be a lot of a memorable tailgating season. Can't guarantee nothing about the team itself. Cryonic said, I think the Pats are going to be easy second in the division. I really agree with that. And they're becoming such a popular pick that it's not even going to be that surprising if they're good. Look, new head coach, bunch of veteran additions on the defense, young quarterback who was compared to Josh coming into the league. Yeah, man. I think the Jets are not going to be good this year. They're not a good team. I don't. Justin Fields is not going to be the answer. Miami's too top heavy. They got a couple star players and disgruntled wide receiver. Who the hell knows? The first game Tyreek Hill doesn't do something. Tua, who knows if he can stay healthy?
Yeah.
They're trying to get better on the line, but I just don't buy the toughness. I think they got a really weak head coach. I think he's soft, and I think it runs through that organization. And I just don't see much from Miami. So sure, I can easily see New England being second. Mark said Terry Pegula doesn't care about winning a Super Bowl. He cares about sustained success over everything because that makes the most consistent money. All right, I don't buy that. Terry Pegula wants to win a Super Bowl. He cares about winning a Super Bowl. Yeah. I will say, though,
he puts a lot of money into the players. I can't fault him for that. He's kind of a cheap ass when it comes to stadiums in terms of like he doesn't want to do all that other shit. But for the Bills, he pays people.
This is not a Terry Pegula thing. I think this is an organizational, philosophical mindset. I do think the team's philosophy is we want to do everything we can to be good now, but we also care a lot about future years. Their mindset, and Brandon Beane has said this, we want to keep knocking at the door because eventually we feel like we're going to be, someone's going to answer. That's kind of their philosophy. They're not going 2021 Rams and just going to go balls to the wall and go all in that way. But,
I guess. I don't know. They spent a lot of money this offseason, I thought. I don't know. And they still got a lot of money. I don't know.
Sure. Look, again, I don't think he's cheap whatsoever. I'm just saying,
I'm saying Brandon Beane does. He just wants to give money to the defense. He doesn't get like I made the joke, like the Bills, the way they built the team is like Josh Allen is like LeBron James with the Cavaliers on offense, whereas the defense is basically like, I don't know, the Golden State Warriors from like 5 years ago or something like that.
If Micah Parsons was truly available, I don't think Brandon Beane would give up 2 first-rounders, young players, and other prospects to go get him because that can mortgage the future. That's what I'm pretty much saying. John Sanders said Gabe Davis scores with 10 seconds left instead of 13 seconds, and Josh would be universally seen as the best player in the game, in my opinion. I kind of almost sort of feel like Josh Allen is getting really close to being considered the best player in the game already, even without, losing 13 seconds. I think there's a lot of people out there who understand that as incredible as Patrick Mahomes is, not to take anything away from him, he does have arguably the greatest coach in NFL history, a great system, a great defensive coordinator, and the Bills, whether it's fair or not, Sean McDermott, is not coached well in the playoffs, and defensive guys have let them down. So I don't know, man. I kind of feel like Josh is already there. RJ Melville said Aaron Shorts has found statistically that the Bills are the best is the best team to ever not only win a Super Bowl, but to never make it to one. So statistically, the Bills, according to Aaron, the best team to ever not make it to a Super Bowl. Yeah. Kind of the same sentiment we argued about.
Differential has always been insane because they blow teams out constantly. Like that's their thing since 2020. They just blow out a lot of teams, and they don't, And then when push comes to shove, in the playoffs,
January, bro. It's all about January. That's what it comes down to. Alex Barber said your odds of winning a Super Bowl are better if you don't go all in. If you have a chance year after year, you increase your odds. That's a fair point. I mean, I just said that. Months ago.
I'm all about do the Rams thing, like go all in. Because look, the Rams went all in. They had to take their medicine for 1 year, and now they look good. After they had to, because they draft well and they got weapons still.
They should have beat the Eagles last year. They should have beat the Eagles in Philly last year in the playoffs. Steve Noble says, is Joe from Queens a red wine guy during shows or a white guy?
Oh, it was Mother's Day, so the wife picked the wine, so it's white. She likes white. I personally like red a little bit more. But yeah, it always depends because when I drink wine, it's going to be with food, which I'm not doing, and I usually like red with my meats, and then white goes with fish, and I usually am a meat. If I'm going to drink wine, I'm going to go get a steak and red wine.
Ralph Wilson said Tim Graham mentioned it on his pod today. Boston Market he saw was open, but I forgot the location. All right, well, I'm gonna have to look at that. Tim's a Northtowns guy though, so if that shit's all the way in Amherst, that don't.
Yeah, we know you're lazy. You ain't moving. You ain't going anywhere unless Jay Skursky's inviting you over in the Northtowns or something like that. But go ahead.
Spin 0481 said, I don't tip on takeout to our point earlier. And RJ said, if they are taking your plate and refilling drinks, 20 makes sense because they are coming by multiple.
Well, how much? Well, here's the thing, RJ. But how much are you going? Look, if I'm getting like 7 beers, sure. But if I'm getting 1 soda, like in the 1 water, and that's it. They're not coming multiple times. And sometimes I have 2 plates. Like, I don't know what your buffet, like, I get like 2 plates and I'm good. I'm not, I mean, you, Pat, you seem like you're getting the to-go box probably if you go to a buffet.
I don't know. I can't tell you the last time. Not that I'm not anti-buffet. I just can't remember the last time I've actually been to a buffet, man. I always go out for wings or pizza or sit down and eat and just it's one meal, man.
My dad loves buffets. We used to go to when I used to come back home, we used to go to the casino, the one in Niagara Falls, the American side. Seneca, I forgot what the Seneca, I think it's called. We would go to that buffet, and my dad was in his glory and loved it. So,
last comment. Sarah Christine said, I don't want being gone. I'm getting really fed up with McDermott, though, to be honest, but only because he never learns from his mistakes. He's too stubborn. Yeah, I mean,
I'm getting more annoyed at Bean. I'm telling you, his little interview and his little, like, look, it's fine for him to be a dick. I don't mind him being a dick. Be a dick. I'm a dick. But, like, the context of his arguments, what he made about building their defense and channeling the Carolina Panthers from, like, 20 years ago and the Patriots from 20 years ago, that shit rubbed me the wrong freaking way. And I hated that. And, like, at least McDermott will say, like, hey, I learned under Andy Reid. And, like, okay, cool. Andy Reid's good. We like him. What's fucking Bean's like, I learned in Carolina. Like, oh, yeah, the dynasty of the Carolina Panthers. Like, he's starting to annoy the shit. He's always kind of annoyed me. But now he's kind of overtaking. They're both fine. I'll keep both. But if I have to throw some guy off the bridge, it's gonna be Bean because he's annoying the shit out of me right now.
Last thing I'll say is we're getting out of here. It doesn't change the playoff failures. But what I will say is I do think, to your point, how you're annoyed with Bean, I will say over the last 2 years or so, seemingly after Tyler Dunn's series on him, I feel like Sean McDermott's changed over the last year or so. You said the offseason, how he sat down with Sal and Matt, and that's the time of year to do it, and you're 100% right. I don't know that he does that 2 years ago, though. Like, even during this time of year, during the offseason, I think he's been a lot more open. I think he's been a little more candid in his conversations. He's had a little bit more personality, a little more just himself, emotion, even into some of his things. I think he's worked really hard on becoming more relatable and likable amongst fans, if that's worth anything. I don't know if it is or not, but that's just how I feel.
Mean, in public, yeah, he's gotten better, but I don't give a shit about his quotes in public. I care about what he says behind the scenes. Has he changed? Like, because here's the thing. I don't know until Tyler or Tim Graham does a story where he talks to, let's just make up a name. He talks to Deion Dawkins off the record, probably. Because, if Deion's, of course, if you ask Deion, hey, how much has he changed? Deion's going to say, oh, he's changed a lot. He's a lot nicer. But if you have it to where Deion goes, like, player source, and then he goes, oh, he's great. Like, that's what I want to hear. I want to hear a source say, like, he's changed. Until then, I'm not believing in terms of him. They still, like, let go of a lot of they still fired some coaches still. And, I don't know. We'll see what happens in terms of that. But, like, yeah, public – it's easy to be like public perception. Like, yeah, he'll listen to Boyko and Boyko will give him keys. And, he in that interview with Sal and Beauvais, he's leaning into that Buffalo blue collar. I love this place. Like all that shit. And that's fine and dandy, and maybe he is cracking dad jokes. That's fine. But really, how is he behind the scenes? That's what I care about. And until a player comes out and you do a story and they're like, oh yeah, he was a dickhead dictator and now he's great, and they have to do it as off the record, or they're not on the team, and like Mitch Morris would be the perfect guy. He's retired. Someone should go interview his ass and ask him how much he's changed, like since 2023 or whatever.
I like RJ's comment. Good way to put it into the show. McDermott was making snow angels and cracking jokes all last year. There was definitely a change there, just not sure how much it matters. It's a good point. Look, at the end of the day, We don't give a shit. Most fans don't give a shit if Sean McDermott's chilling out with Sal Capaccio and Matt Bove or being vanilla dickhead to the media. They don't care. Just win football games. Anyway, all right, that is going to do it. Big shout out to a lot of people here on the live chat. I mean, we're a buck 49 in. You're sick about it. You told me you want to have a short show because you're tired. I'm sorry. Just it didn't work out.
Yeah,
it didn't work out that way, but there's a lot of people in the live chat on the video side that have been here pretty much for the duration of this show, man. And cannot thank you enough. That is so cool. And I survived a long episode recording with the StreamYard. It didn't go out like last week. I was very nervous about that. So really cool. But again, big shout out to all you guys. And if you're not subscribed on the audio side, please go ahead and do that. Joe from Queens, as always, thank you very much. I'll be back tomorrow. Chris Ostrander from Two in the Box joins me. Joe brought up Eric Stahl and feelings about that. I'm sure Chris is going to have plenty to say about that. Plenty of Sabre stuff as well. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Thank you.